Good morning. Yesterday we finished off the estimates with me canvassing the ALC and the movement of enforcement and the direction that the Commission will be going and the Ministry will be going. So my final question yesterday was around the initiatives for encouraging farming and protecting farmland. I asked the Minister what exactly the new measures would entail. And so I guess I would like more of a specific answer. I found the answer yesterday to be a bit vague, considering there has been funding issued to the ALC for that initiative. So if I could have a bit more of a definition, that'd be great.
We're talking about in terms of the proactivity. We want engagement by the chair, which we've seen, moving around the province, visiting various communities. We want engagement by the panels. Panels have members drawn from all areas of the province, and indeed the hardworking staff of the ALC continue to expand their outreach with both communities, local government definitely, ag advisories around the province, and farming groups, whether they are formalized or not, that exist throughout the province of British Columbia. And we're basically looking for a way to break down some of the difficulties in the farming community. We're looking to improve aspects, not so much with enforcement, though that's definitely a piece of it, but compliance. And not, enforcement is the end of the road, but compliance means just making sure best practices followed prior to having an issue come to light. We want to encourage education, and we want to basically encourage communities and the like to be proactive in their efforts to create and foster good farming practice in British Columbia.
Thank you, and all that sounds good. I'm wondering how exactly that would be measured. The Ministry of Agriculture Service Plan doesn't have any performance measures for the ALC, and why not? And is that something that you're looking at?
I'm sure, as the member knows, the ALC is not required to have a service plan separately, but are included in the Ministry of Agriculture Service Plan. And one of the problems we've had over the last several years is just the incredible number of applications the ALC has received, anywhere from 600 to 800 applications per year, which becomes a problem in terms of making a proactive organization becoming more reactive. The strategies that the ALC is working towards include issues like encouraging local governments to engage in discussions with the ALC and planning staff early in land use planning processes, encouraging local governments and other land use agencies to develop agriculturally sympathetic land use planning, review ALR boundaries in select areas of the province, becoming involved in major projects at the early conceptual development stage, research and assess emerging issues that impact the agricultural land base. And with the new dollars that have been injected into the ALC, we're looking to develop these measurables out of these from these strategies.
Page 21 of the Ministry of Agriculture Service Plan, you're trying to align, the Minister's trying to align that with encouraging farming. But I'm still having trouble figuring out how this will be measured. So there's between 600 and 800 applications. We've covered yesterday that reduction in application will not result in any cost savings at all. So as far as measuring the effects on the ALC, how will we know that the number of applications will be reduced and that this is actually the cause of the reduction?
We have no control over the number of applications that will come in, obviously. We base it on historical precedents and how the ALC was able to work within its fiscal framework and mandate. However, with some of the legislative changes that were brought in last fall, we are of the belief that there will be a lesser number. However, we cannot, with a crystal ball, predict the future number of applications that are coming in.
Well, that concerns me because the legislation was changed in order to reduce the number of applications. So I'm wondering, how will the Minister know that the number has been reduced due to the legislative changes?
We work very closely with the ALC and the organization. Their staff is not large, as the member opposite knows. There's just over 20. However, the reality is we can work with the ALC to get their both anecdotal and their actual new number of applications coming in. Again, the reality is we know what the world was like looking back. Looking forward, we know farming is going to be a very important lens in British Columbia. However, whether it is a exclusion application, a sightline subdivision, or some other issue, non-farm use, we can't control the various farmers or landowners across the province and as their applications come forward. However, these decisions were not made lightly. They were not made solely within the Ministry of Agriculture. These decisions were made with close consultation with the ALC, and I'm going to rely on their experience, their multiple years of experience, including by, I must apologize, I have to introduce to my right Brian Underhill, who's the Executive Director of the Agricultural Land Commission, who I think started working in the Agricultural Land Commission roughly when I was leaving elementary school, and no disrespect there, sir, but we're glad to have your experience here and the share of your wisdom, and hoping that we can use these dollars to better promote farming and preserve farmland in British Columbia.
May I suggest that the minister considers a measurement tool, because legislative changes are quite onerous, and they do take up a lot of time. And so if we don't have a measurement tool in place to make sure that the legislative changes were working, that concerns me. We'll move on to the user fees. Begin the transition to a more self-supporting operating model by 2013 and prepare to augment provincial funding by charging certain fees. So my first question here is, who would be the target for the new fee structure?
Right now we are waiting for the LC to come forward, working with the Ministry of Agriculture to talk about the fee structure, but it hasn't really been solidified yet. There still needs to be a whole bunch of consultation with the various stakeholders who use services from the ALC. However, when the report does come forward, it will also include consultation with the user groups, whether they be local government, the farming community, or others who take part in the important work that the ALC does.
The transition time is starting, I would say, last November when the legislative changes came in. When would the Commission implement the first set of fees under the new structure?
We haven't had the consultations yet, so I think to prejudge when the fees will be charged would be premature at this stage.
Does the Minister have any idea how this would affect revenue to the Commission?
Currently, the majority of fees were set in the ALC back in 1992, and that's the baseline we work from. So, quick bit of math, that's 2 decades ago. Some minor changes were made to the fee structure in 2002, but I will highlight the word minor. But for the member opposite, the fees are intended to be a cost recovery fee to address services provided by the organization.
Well, it clearly states that the fees would help move the Commission into a self-supporting operation. So, I'm not sure why we don't have any estimates on the predicted revenue that would bring in. I don't see that in the estimates. So we've established that the reduction of applications would not improve the fiscal situation for the Commission. There's no cost savings. We don't have a measurement tool, and we don't know how much revenue would be generated by fees. Given that the budget for the Agricultural Land Commission has not changed this year, I don't understand how that transition is going to take place.
I just want to reassure the member that the measures made, both legislation and dollars, and fee structure, are not about saving money. It's about creating capacity of the ALC. And again, the fees will hopefully be designed when they are completed and consultation is done, addressing cost recovery. I want to remind the member as well that we have injected the $1.6 million as a 2-year transition plan, and with those dollars and during this time, measurements are, as I stated earlier, being developed that will address some of the concerns raised earlier.
So I just would like to make it clear that the budget for the Agricultural Land Commission has not changed in the estimates. That's clear. I confirmed that at the beginning of these estimates. The budget has not changed. I do not see anything in the estimates budget that reflects the injection. So, but I'll be canvassing that later. We're going to move on to the regional panels. To ensure greater consistency and consideration of the ALC's core values in regional panel decision-making by increasing the oversight of the chair of the ALC. Can the minister please tell me what the cost difference is having regional panels versus a provincial panel?